Naturalization Act of 1870 extended rights to people of African descent. The Naturalization Act of 1870 was a federal law that extended naturalization rights to people of African descent and African nativity while excluding other non-white groups, especially Asians. Naturalization Act rights. The act extended naturalization rights to people of African descent and African nativity, and with it, the right to vote. However, the right to vote was often taken away until the civil rights movement in 1964. The civil rights movement in 1964. Congress went further by amending naturalization requirements in 1870 and extending naturalization eligibility to aliens being free white persons, quote unquote, and to aliens of African nativity and to persons of African descent. And then at the online says the word African is a noun, and it's Old English Africanus, plural, native or inhabitant of Africa, from Latin Africanus, which is an adjective. Of Africa, African, from Africa, see Africa. Use of white residents of Africa from 1850. Use of black residents of the U.S. from the 18th century, when it especially meant one brought from Africa, and sometimes was contrasted to native-born Negro as an by adjective by the 1560s pertaining to Africa or Africans. Old English had Afrinisk. Okay, from I don't know. I think that's how you pronounce it. From 1722, as of pertaining to Black Americans. Okay, so they were calling the white residents of Africa Africans from 1850, and when people started emigrating to America, they had an act to naturalize these people in 1870. Okay, African descent is within the meaning of the 1870 Naturalization Act. And because they mixed with free white persons, they became members of the Negro races of Africa. So African descent, persons of African nativity or of African descent within the meaning of the Naturalization Act as amended by Act July 14th, 1870. And then there's a legal bracket that are members of the Negro races of Africa or their descendants by intermixture with races constituting free white persons. The Negro race is referred to being those from which the emancipated slaves in the United States descend. It does not mean the Caucasian race, Aryan race, or Indo-European races, nor the mixed Indo-European, Dravidian, Semitic, and Mongolian peoples who inhabit Persia. Civilir mortis is when you use the term black to describe yourself as a person. Civiliter mortis is a Latin phrase that means dead in the eyes of the law. It refers to a person who has lost their civil rights and is no longer considered a legal citizen. In this state, they are unable to participate in society as they once did. People who may be considered civiliter mortis include people who have been convicted of a serious crime and sentenced to life in prison, people who have been declared bankrupt. And civil debt is another name for this condition. It can occur when a person is convicted of a felony or when the government of a country takes something that results in a loss of civil rights. So, what is civiliter mortis? Civilly dead, dead in the view of the law, the condition of one who has lost his civil rights and capacities and is accounted dead in law. As well as you well know, grammatically, black is an adjective and not a proper noun. Socially and politically, so black is an adjective describing something. It's not a noun. When you call yourself black, black what? Black, you're calling yourself an adjective, and we never call ourselves an adjective. It's like calling yourself. Let me see an adjective. It's like calling yourself big or calling yourself small or something like that. Like, it's not a proper noun. It's socially and politically. Black implies civiliter mortis, which means dead in the eyes of the law. Calling yourself, um, hmm, what's a good adjective? I can't get a good adjective, but it's an adjective. It's not a noun, so it's not describe. It's describing you, but it's not you. It's not a noun. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.